Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 12th, 2019 regular meeting of the Kern County Planning Commission. I'd like to declare the meeting in order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ashley?
Here.
Commissioner Judge?
Here.
Commissioner McGiffney?
Here.
Commissioner Skidmore? Here. Commissioner Sprague? Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Simon? Here.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is the commission member announcement or reports. I do have one, actually. There is, we change chairman of the committee on an annual basis, and we form a committee to do that. There's a two-person committee. It consists of myself and Commissioner Sprague, and so we will be announcing the selection for the new chairman at our January 23rd meeting. Any questions, comments? Okay. We do not. I'm being told by the boss that we do not. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the November 14th, 2019 meeting. All those are in your packets. I assume that you have read them.
I think, Ron, your mic is off.
It was on. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is cases withdrawn or requests for continuance. We have a couple of that fall into that category. Ms. Simons, are you going to cover those, or Mr. Murphy?
I'll cover those today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. As you mentioned, we do have two cases this evening. The first is conditional use permit 22, map known 65-25. Our applicant is Paul Anchordurkey. This project is recommended a continuance until January 23rd, 2020. The second item is CUP 11, map 214. The applicant is the Planning and Natural Resources Department, and the staff recommendation is to continue that project to January 23rd, 2020. That completes the reading of the cases withdrawn or request for continuance.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
I'll make a motion to approve the case withdrawn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Five ayes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. I think we have a few of those cases as well. Okay, Mr. Murphy, you going to cover those as well?
I will. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. We have three cases this evening that are on the consent calendar. These are items that are scheduled before your commission, which are being recommended for approval by staff, and the applicant has been informed of any special condition and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audience wishes to comment or ask any questions on the case. Our first case is case number 1. This is zone change case number 1, map 23115, precise development plan number 1, map 23115. Our applicant is John Jeffries. This project is located at the southeast corner of 70th Street West and Stetson Avenue in the Rosamond area. The two actions before your commission. The first is a change in zone classification from OS to M1 PD, or a more restrictive district. And the second is approval of precise development plan to allow the construction of a 6,000 square foot metal storage building in the M1 PD district. The staff recommendation is to advise your commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors to approve the zone change as requested and approve the precise development plan subject to the conditions as requested and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. The next item consent is number 2. This is conditional use permit number 115, map 231. Our applicant is Harold King. This project is located at 4766 45th Street West, also in the Rosamond area. The request before your commission is the CUP to allow a manufactured home that does not meet the age requirements as a third dwelling unit on 9.80 acres parcel in an E2.5 RS district. The recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. The last item on consent this evening is track map 7367. Our applicant is Educational Leasings LLC by Swanson Engineering. This project is located on the southeast corner of Lamberson Avenue and State Route 46 in the Lost Hills area. The request before your commission this evening is to approve tentative track map number 7367 which proposes to divide a 20.43 acre site into 21 lots, which range in size from 6,000 square foot net to 8,499 square feet net for residential use. Project also includes a 16.08 acre designated remainder. The project includes development variations to the land division ordinance to allow the deletion of a 20-foot by 20-foot corner cutoffs at the intersection of easements, also to allow interior parcel frontage of less than 55 feet wide, and to allow a corner parcel frontage less than 60 feet wide, including limited design variations to allow lot depths greater than 3 times the width. The staff recommendation is to approve the tentative tract map with the associated development variations to allow interior parcel frontage less than 55 feet at the corner parcel, frontage less than 60 feet at the limited design variation to allow the lot depths greater than 3 times the width, subject to the recommended conditions of approval. Staff is recommending disapproval of the development variation to allow the deletion of the 20-foot by 20-foot corner cutoffs at the intersection of the street and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Is there any member of the audience that would like to pull any of these to be heard in their regular order? Seeing none, any members of the commission that would like to pull a case?
Mr. Chairman, if not, I would be prepared to make a motion on these items. I make a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3 as read into the record by staff.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
All ayes, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Looks like 2 of these are final decisions as per the commission. So, Mr. Murphy, we cover our right to appeal.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person. No development proposed by the application may be authorized until final date of the appeal. The appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms that we have available at the department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. For tract maps, an appeal must be filed within 10 days from the date of the decision of the Planning Commission. Any such appeal must be accompanied by appeal fee of $540. If no appeal is received, the action of the Planning Commission is final. I would note for members of the audience in your commission, case number 2, which is the conditional use permit in which you have 14 days to appeal. That day falls on the 14th day falls on when the county will be closed for our winter recess. Therefore, the appeal must be filed by 5 p.m. on January 2nd, 2020. That's for case number 2. For case number 3, the tract map in which you have 10 days to appeal. Again, we have a similar situation. That appeal must be turned in by 5 p.m. on December 23rd, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Okay, the next item up on our agenda is public presentations. This portion of our agenda is reserved for those folks who would like to address our commission for anything that we have jurisdiction over, but that is not on tonight's agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Any cases that fall into, or any issues that fall into that category? Okay, seeing none, we'll jump into the public hearings for our new cases. Looks like we have a couple of those this evening. Ms. Simon or Mr. Murphy? Which?
It is me.
Okey doke.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
evening, Chairman Ashley and Commissioners. The project before you tonight is a request from John and Bonnie Thompson for a conditional use permit to allow a kennel for a maximum of 25 dogs located at 3901 Pozo Flat Road that is located northwest of the Bakersfield city limits. The subject property consists of an existing single-family residence with a detached garage, accessory structures, including a barn and storage shed, and numerous large breed animals, including horses, cows, goats, sheep, and alpacas. The area is rural in nature, and surrounding properties are developed with single-family residences, numerous accessory structures, and house large breed animals. The applicant purchased the property in October of 2017 and subsequently established a kennel breeding operation. In April of 2018, the applicant attended a violation hearing where it was determined the operation was occurring with the benefit of without the benefit of land use approval. The applicant has since complied with all stipulations as the hearing officer had required, and has also obtained all necessary licensing, permits, and received a passing site inspection on September 13th of 2019. The applicant is proposing a maximum of 25 dogs. These dogs are called Miki dogs. They're a toy breed that is of the size between 4 and 10 pounds. The applicant indicates that no customers or clients will come to the home. All arrangements will be made outside of the home for distribution of the animals and any meeting of the animals. During the processing of this request, staff has notified surrounding property owners within 1,000 feet of the project site, affected agencies, and county departments. As of this writing, 5 comment letters have been received from county departments and affected agencies, and 2 comment letters from surrounding property owners. Copies of all the correspondences have been attached to your staff report for your reference. 2 comments were received from surrounding property owners. One was in support of the kennel, while the other was by an adjacent property owners, the Fuenteses. Their concerns were in regards to the amount of dogs requested, the noise level from barking, the proposed kennel layout, and that was it. For your reference, staff has created a map indicating the distance of the project site to the concerned neighbor's residence. As you can see, the Fuentes property does surround the project site by three sides. However, if I could have the other picture there, the outside kennel area where the dogs would exercise and move about during a portion of the day is located approximately 330 feet from the Fuentes' residence. Therefore, staff believes that that is an adequate buffer for any kind of noise from the dogs that would be on site. The request is for a maximum of 25 dogs, and at the time, when the Kern County Animal Services site inspection came around, there was a total of 20 dogs, so there will be a fluctuation of dogs on site. Staff notes that any dog that's older than 4 months of age is considered an adult, so when a pup is born, that is not included within the maximum number of dogs on site. If approved, the applicant will be monitored and inspected by the Kern County Animal Services to ensure the maximum dog population is maintained, as well as the condition of the dogs and the kennel. Staff has included a condition in the recommended conditions of approval requiring breeding population to be maintained at 25 dogs. In regards to noise levels, the Kern County Animal Services regulations are in place to control nuisance situations and monitor project conditions. And staff has incorporated recommended conditions of approval for these maintenance conditions for the proposed kennel. The proposed kennel operation is housed by a 21-foot by 21-foot indoor space within the residence, and then the outdoor access is provided by a doggy door to the outdoor patio area that was also shown on the other slide or on the other picture that Ms. Monsiváis has put up for you. And that is also shaded, and there is a chain link fence, as you can see in the picture. For your commission's reference, the project site is within an A exclusive agricultural district, which allows the breeding and raising of larger breed animals like horses, donkeys, llamas, or mules. Staff believes the proposed request of a small kennel with a toy dog breed would be much less intense in use as compared to the by right animals that would be allowed on site. Due to the nature of the project, staff is recommending the request be approved for a temporary period of 5 years in order to ensure that continued compliance with the recommended conditions of approval and with Kern County's Animal Services is complied. At the end of the 5 years, the applicant may apply for permanent status of the operation. Therefore, staff recommends your commission approve the conditional use permit as requested authorizing 25 dogs, the associated kennel operations for a temporary period of 5 years set to expire on December 26, 2024, in accordance with the recommended conditions, and adopt suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Is a project proponent here? Would you guys like to speak?
Do you have questions? Do we need to come forward?
Yeah, if you'd like to speak, you should come forward to the mic, and it's up to you.
If you have questions, I think we can answer, but
So-
I have nothing to add.
Okay, sounds great. We'll call you if we need to then.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak against the project? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing then. Commissioner comments, questions?
I did have one question directed towards staff. There was a comment made about the exterior kennel and location of it. Is the fenced-in area, is that connected access to the homes where the doggy door allows them to access the kennel exterior as well?
Yes, I believe it does.
Okay, so it's all in enclosed space.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if there are not any more commissioner comments, I think I'd be prepared to cast a motion. So I would make a motion to approve item number 5 as read into the record by staff.
I'd second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote.
All ayes, motion carries.
This also is a final decision, so we probably should read our right to appeal on that one as well.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, the project before your commission action is final. Any of those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person. No development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. Again, the appeal can be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms that we have available at the department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. Again, be given the winter recess for the county. Any appellate has the opportunity until 5 p.m. on January 2nd, 2020 to appeal this decision.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item number 6. Ms. Simon, will you be covering that one for us?
That is me again. Lucky you.
We are lucky.
Good evening again, Chairman Ashley and Commissioners. This project before you tonight was originally scheduled to be considered at the August 22nd, 2019 agenda. However, subsequent to the distribution of the staff report, the applicant requested a continuance in order to make possible alterations to the proposed project. So the request before you tonight is for a conditional use permit to allow a community center that includes a soccer field or sports field, 2 basketball courts, a 20,000 square foot gymnasium, a 13,000 square foot reception hall, caretakers quarters, and classrooms for a total of 18,000 square feet, including associated improvements. This project is proposed to be built in phases, and I will explain that a little bit later in presentation. The site is located at 3212 Jowetta Avenue on the southeast corner of Jowetta Avenue and Meacham Road in Bakersfield. The project site consists of a 9.33 acre parcel and is currently developed with vacant single-family residence and accessory structures. The applicant has removed outdoor storage from the project site during this process. The properties surrounding the project are developed with single-family residence and accessory structures. The proposed project is intended, as I said earlier, to be completed in 3 phases. Phase 1 would consist of the construction of a 9,000 square foot stick-built or modular classrooms, the sports fields with outdoor lighting, a playground, 2 basketball courts with lighting, and required parking and landscaping to accommodate those developments. The residence on site will be renovated and utilized as the groundskeeper and caretaker's quarters, and a single access for the general parking on Jowetta Avenue for the use of the community center is proposed, along with a separate private drive approach for the existing residents that would, again, be the groundskeepers or caretakers' quarters. Phase 2 would include the construction of a 20,000 square foot gymnasium and additional stick-built or modular classrooms not to exceed 9,000 square feet, with the completion of all the associated parking and landscaping at that time. Upon a completion of Phase 2, 4 additional access approaches are proposed to be added, 2 from Jewetta Avenue and 2 from Meacham Road. All access would be evaluated by the Public Works Department at the time of proposal when the applicant comes in, and that department would determine how many approaches would be allowed at that time. Phase 3 will include a 13,000 square foot reception hall with the possible finalization of the Phase 2 classrooms, and classrooms for all phases shall not exceed a total of 18,000 square feet. During the course of the processing of this request, staff notified the surrounding property owners within 1,000 feet of the project site and affected agencies and county departments. 8 comment letters have been received from county departments and affected agencies, with 4 from area residents addressing their concerns. Copies of the correspondence received have been attached to your staff report for your reference. Comments of concern received from surrounding property owners included the following: nonprofit status of the proposed community center, noise levels, the allowance of private events that could include alcohol, outdoor lighting proposed, what the proposed hours of operation would be, and what would be the traffic impact and how would speeds be reduced or pedestrian safety measures be installed as a result of the proposed project, and finally, security on site. Excuse me. Staff addressed each of these concerns as such within the staff report. Regarding the nonprofit status, the applicant is proposing a nonprofit community center that is not under the jurisdiction of any governmental agency. The proposal does include the potential to rent out the facility to the general public for events. The nonprofit status of an applicant's proposal is not part of the basis of criteria for staff's recommendations or findings. Should rental events take place, there is a possibility the event host may serve alcohol, which would require obtaining an alcohol beverage control permit. Noise levels. The site plan indicates the facility to be positioned in the center of the project site with proposed parking surrounding the facility, including a 6-foot masonry wall abutting both sides of the neighboring properties, which would buffer the noise. In addition to the noise levels, there is a limit to the hours of operation. So the hours of operation would be 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. to ensure there is sufficient amount of time for the project proponents to prepare and organize daily activities, and also any closing procedures. So the noise levels would be limited to those hours on site. And we are also proposing that the outdoor sports fields be limited to sunrise to sunset, so that would also bring down the noise levels. In regards to outdoor lighting, according to the submitted site plan, the applicant is proposing typical lighting for buildings and parking areas, as well as lightings for the sports fields and the basketball courts. Staff is recommending several conditions within the recommended conditions of approval to ensure the project is in compliance with the dark skies ordinance, and the use of the basketball court and sports fields is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. In regard to the traffic impacts, the Kern County Public Works Department has requested a trip generation analysis to determine the need for a traffic impact study to determine the timing for the required adjacent street improvements. These improvements do include gutter, sidewalk, and curb drive approaches, and then also the possibility of an addition to a turn lane into the sites and any other necessary tie-ins for Jewetta Avenue or Meacham Road. There also could be a determination made on signal modification after the evaluation of the trip generation or the traffic impact study by Public Works Department. Any reduction to speed or additional pedestrian improvements related to the project would be analyzed at a later date, once the project is in full operation. A speed survey would be conducted by the Public Works Department through public requests or through the Public Works internal review process. In relation to security on site, the applicant is proposing a 6-foot masonry wall for the project site adjacent to all the neighboring properties to the east and south to protect the area, along those boundaries. The on-site groundskeeper and caretakers would be there 24 hours a day, since someone would be living there, and they would help to monitor the activity. Staff does believe that cleaning up and developing the site will discourage any loitering or squatting that may have been taking place prior to the presence of an on-site groundskeeper. Additionally, staff is recommending a condition of approval to install a maximum height of 4 feet ornamental fence or wall with evergreen landscaping where the parking area abuts Jewetta Avenue and Meacham Road. This would provide additional security around the project site and discourage possible vagrancy, as well as help eliminate headlight glare onto Jewetta Avenue and Meacham Road from the center's parking lots. As previously stated, the applicant is requesting outdoor lighting around the proposed basketball courts and soccer fields. Staff is recommending the approval of the outdoor sports lighting for the basketball courts, which would be limited to 6 pole lights at a maximum height of 20 feet and would be turned off daily. In addition, these lights would be set to be put on timers where when someone was playing on the courts, the lights would be on, and then after they left, the lights would automatically shut off. But then the lights would also be inoperable after 10 p.m. So there would be no one that could come and hit the button to turn on the lights. Due to the proximity of the neighboring properties and the possible result of glare from lights, staff is recommending the sports field have no permanent sports or arena lighting allowed, and that the sports fields be only utilized from sunrise to sunset. Staff concludes the request sufficiently demonstrates compliance with the necessary findings and therefore recommends your commission approve the conditional use permit subject to the recommended conditions of approval and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Simon. Is the project proponent here? Yes. Would you guys like to speak? Please come to the mic and state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Adam McAllister.
Hi, and I'm Felix Diaz.
For this project, there will be no alcohol served whatsoever, nor will it be allowed on our facility.
To add to that, even when the facility will be rented out for events, it is completely 100% non-tolerable. So whatsoever, under any conditions, there will be no alcohol served.
We accept everything on the staff report. However, we would like lighting on our soccer field. We're trying to build a community center, and realistically, who's going to be using this field? It's the families, it's the kids. When you look at sunset right now, it's 4:45. I mean, people get off work at 5 o'clock. There'll be no use for this soccer field if we cannot get lighting on the soccer field. It's gonna be too hot in the summer for kids to be on it, so we would like lighting at night. We also have Chris Bailey here. He's a specialist with Moscow Lighting. He can kind of explain a little bit more of the lighting that we'll be putting on the soccer field to show that it wouldn't affect anybody, nor will there be any overspill to the neighbors or to anyone else. With that being said, Chris.
So have you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Hi there, my name is Chris Haley. I'm the Regional Project Manager for Musco Sports Lighting. I'd like to say thank you to Chairman Ashley and the rest of the commissioners for letting us plead our case for the sports lighting on this project. I believe that we have my presentation set up here, just a couple of slides to go through, I guess to explain to you guys the impact to the surrounding neighbors and how we minimize spill light to the surrounding community from where our ballparks are. As I said, Musco Sports Lighting, created in 1976. We are the leader in sports lighting around the world. We like to say that 9 out of 10 ball fields in the state of California are lit with Musco Sports Lighting. If you've been to a ballpark or a neighborhood park in Kern County or Bakersfield area, you've seen our product. It's on most of the area ballpark. We've been doing strictly sports lighting since '76, but in 2008 we started messing with LEDs. Our first project was the White House. Our owner sits on the Parks and Commission Board for the National Parks Board. So we do monuments and railways, but the bulk of our business is sports lighting. This is a photo of the lineage of our fixtures. There is a park just south of the proposed area that has the fourth pole, so the one that's right in the middle. That is our TLC product. It's also on McMurtry Aquatic Center that's right across the street. That is like 1980s, 1990s HID product. And as you go through the lineage of our fixture, you can see the difference in the way that we've scaled this is the same amount of light to get to. There's these little flags out there in the yard. You can see it better up close, but the same amount of light to get to those flags and the amount of fixtures it takes to get that amount of light. And what you're seeing is everything down into today's Musco LED system. And that's the look from off-site. You know, we can look at other manufacturers' LEDs. I think Jastrow Park just got some LEDs put up that are just regular pan LEDs. And if you drive past them, you can see there's some impact whenever you look at it. There's a glare sensation. I guess one of the best examples, if we want to go, I've got some photos here to look through some stuff. A couple projects that we've done, I think, that are similar to this one. The one proposed will be a 6-pole system, somewhat like this. This is a field we did abroad, but you can see the light cutoff that we're obtaining or achieving with our new LED fixture. The surrounding area is very minimally, if at all, impacted by our light. Here's another. I mean, there's just a couple of photos that we put together here that you can see the impact and how sharp the cutoff is with our LED fixture. Once again, this is a couple big complexes. This is one that's kind of near and dear to me. Just finished up this job in Sherman Oaks. The reason I like this picture so much is because in the background you can see a 1970s integral ballast metal halide fixture. You can see the difference in spill and glare control between that old technology and the new technology. I'd also like to point out the glare impact or lack thereof behind the poles to the southwest there. And then in Irvine, the Great Park, huge complex for us. The reason I like this photo so much is because on field 4 there, the soccer field, you can see that when we turn those lights off, the cutoff on that fixture and how we're able to pinpoint the light really impacts the area or doesn't impact the area. I've got a couple, and we can get as technical as we want, I guess, with questions, but essentially I've got 3 documents here showing we go through a bunch of tests to show, and whenever we sell a project or produce a project, we go out to the site and we check all the spill findings and make sure that no light is impeding on the surrounding areas. And essentially these documents are showing that we will not be impacting the surrounding areas at all with our fixture, and we can go through those couple. These are some pictures I took out. We have our HID system out at Kaiser Permanente, and then an LED system right next at the same complex. This is what it looks like on the HID system, just to give you, some perspective, 85 feet back, which is the distance to the nearest home from the proposed project. This is the look of the HID system, and then the next, this is on the LED field. This is the look at 85 feet behind. So there's a visible difference between the darkness behind the pole. If we want to go to the next one. This is the HID system in the corner, as if we were sitting in the corner of the properties where 90s, and then that's the darkness in the LED. And then the same thing, this would be looking down the property line at 85 feet, and then the next with the new LED, the darkness. And so if there are any questions, I'd open it up, and thank you guys so much for letting me speak to the commission.
Mr. Chairman. I've seen these systems, both of them. And if you look at the map of the residential surrounding this development, this is one of the worst planning nightmares I've seen in my 21-year career as a planning commissioner, as far as how it's put together, lighted, traffic, no traffic impact report yet for us to look at to make a decision on tonight. When you put those large poles up, even if you have LED lightings, which I have seen, and you have residents in their backyard trying to barbecue, or have a party, or have guests over, you have huge poles and a huge soccer field. The lights may not run over into the property line, but you can see these lights for blocks all the way around you. It completely lights the sky, even though it's directed towards the field. It's still a problem. This is like putting a concert in the middle of a quiet neighborhood, and it isn't going to work for that neighborhood, along with putting over 535 cars into the neighborhood. Makes it very difficult. I would have to see the traffic impact study, and I would still have to review the lighting, dark sky ordinance, and what this could do to the neighbors that are surrounding this particular complex. So I know what your answer is. It's directed onto the field, but it's still like night lights in the sky all the way around the soccer field.
I guess in relation to the Kaiser Permanente project, the poles are a little bit shorter, and the field is exponentially smaller than that one. You referred to International Dark Skies. The International Dark Sky Association has 8-step criteria, essentially, that we can send recreational light-leveled projects, which this falls under. We can send that to them, and it's an 8-point checklist. You pass all the checklists, and then they will approve you for an International Dark Skies approved field. So I think that's something that we would pursue if that was something that the commission wanted. And I can't speak to the traffic.
May be true, but you only have a 6-foot fence back there at this point that's recommended for us. So if you were in your backyard, you're still going to have huge lights completely surrounding you and all the neighbors around it. So I just want to make those comments and get your replies. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We are building a 6-foot masonry wall to all of our neighbors to prevent any lighting from going into their backyard and whatnot. It's going to be 6 feet tall that will help prevent any lighting going onto any of our neighbors' backyard or any of that. So that will help exponentially a lot with any lighting going into our neighbors' yards, backyards, or any of that.
Well, you get that tall of a pole, it's going to project over so you can see it.
Yes, that's
Noise
but there
levels-
is going to be a 6-foot wall that will
I
help.
I understand what it says. I mean, it should be 8-foot wall. But when you look at it, I mean, noise from the soccer field, have you been to the soccer fields and listened to the crowd? It's pretty loud.
This soccer field is more for the children and the kids. We're not having tournaments in our soccer field. It's just for the community, you know.
What-
We're not planning on having tournaments there.
What guarantees that?
You could there is no seatings or anything for us to be able to host a tournament.
Okay,
I have a question.
thank you.
And I apologize, I was requesting back to, if you don't mind here. Before we, I also want to commend staff to the well-prepared staff report here and put together with quite a bit of conditions. So when it comes to lighting, obviously, we are in the dark skies ordinance here, which are required for the parking lot and the rest of the facility. When it comes to the soccer field, are you guys, do you guys provide a photometric design for that as well, showing the overlay of the lighting?
And yes, and we've already done that.
Okay. And is that something that's been submitted to staff yet? the photometric design?
What you saw on the PowerPoint presentation is showing where the candle foots would end at the property lines.
Okay.
So where you see the zeros around, that would be where the candle foot ends.
Yes, and that's just part of that photometric study. The rest is, showing the foot candles on the field. But the three big ones and
Yeah, there you go. Okay, thank you.
the type of light, looking up into the fixtures and seeing that's, if we want to start getting technical with it, that would be vertical foot candles or candela, the impact of glare. And when we measure the candela, for your reference, 10,000 candela is like a low beam headlight. So that's 10,000 candela. We're showing values of like 50, 60 candela, which essentially is no light. Like if I look up at this fixture right here and the impact that's giving my eye, the sensation of light glare, that's how we measure that in candela. And so essentially you're having no sensation of seeing those lights. The neighbors won't be able to look up. That being said, I mean, there are lights in the sky. I'm not going to tell you that you can't see them, but you
And you were
won't be
saying
able to-
that candlelight is considered less than a headlight of a vehicle?
Oh, exponentially. I mean, you're at a point where you can't even see into the fixture because of the full cutoff of our visor technology. So, and what we're showing here, so horizontal foot candles essentially is that the light that passes across the yard, right? I can see that light coming towards me, essentially. I go out there personally, it's my job to go out and take light meters at the property line and make sure that we're meeting the specification put forth in front of the city, county, whoever we're doing the project with. I go out, I make sure that we meet those, and if we're not meeting those, then we go back out, we readjust fixtures. But on our scan set, we're showing 0 horizontal foot candle, so 0 spill onto the yard. Vertical foot candles, when I take my light meter and I say, I can see that fixture right there. I'm going to point my light meter at that and get the reading off of it. We're showing zeros across the property line vertically as well.
So you're saying based upon the studies, there will be no spillover on any of the existing residential property around this center?
Based upon the studies, yes.
And that's something that you guys engineer and design specifically that has to be approved and submitted and reviewed?
Yes.
So they can come up, so say if they design this type of photometric design, which has 0 foot candle coming into your property lines, or is staying away from our residential properties, that is submitted. In turn, when this thing gets developed and built, this will have to go to the building department, reviewed, approved, and they would have to install what is required on the building plans based upon the photometric design, correct?
I would assume, yeah, I would go through the same process that all of our projects do, like what you just said.
Okay, so in regarding the issue of light spilling into residential neighborhoods or having that issue come across, design engineered, it is proven here that that won't happen based upon what you guys are providing here, correct?
Yes, the photometric
Okay.
study does prove that, and also it's a part of our 25-year warranty. So we guarantee not just the product for 25 years, but the light levels. So if at some point, light gets low on the field, the owner calls us, we fix it. If the spill, for some reason, the fixture gets out of whack, we come out, we fix it. It's on us. And that's a part of our documentation that we put forth in our submittal package.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. What's there now? What's going on there now? What's the condition of the property? What's,
It's just a vacant piece of 10 acres.
mhm,
It's a sore eye.
okay, it's an eyesore. I mean, are there like, I don't know, dirt bike trails going through there? What's the level of activity in that vacant lot right now?
No activity. It's a lot, empty lot.
And what's nearby there for recreational activities? What's in this area?
I believe,
Residential homes.
Commissioner, I believe on that too, I live actually close to this neighborhood. On the corner of Brimhall and Jewetta is actually one of the largest soccer fields.
Yeah, that's Brimwell and Jewetta, right?
Yeah, which is, down Jewetta,
Yeah, I
a few
know.
miles from the intersection. And that location also hosts one of the largest leagues, soccer games. Across the street from that is also Liberty
Yep.
High School, is my understanding. And I live close to that area as well, and surrounded by residential neighborhood as well, too. And a comment I would like to add is that I know that that facility is greatly used and actually is a great asset to the community there because the amount of children that come out and play soccer and the amount of events that NOR local leagues put on, it has become a hub and something that a lot of the high schools and elementary schools use. And living around that, it's been something that I know my young children enjoy and play. I know my kids actually play there themselves in their soccer team. One comment I'd like to ask, directed towards staff, is I think you guys did a great job on the report and the staff conditions, and I am in favor of all conditions assessed here. One thing for the applicant, I do see the one issue with the limitation of not having lighting on the soccer field. One, most soccer is played in this time of year, starts, and as pointed out, sun does set early. So most people do get off work at 5. I know, again, my children, we take them to the soccer field about 5:30, and they play from 6 to 8 o'clock, 6 to 9. And I think that would render the point of this field somewhat useless, because it is not really something that's used during the summertime. It's more of a winter sport. And I think also, I would have a question would be is, I think for safety purposes, a large facility like this, I think having adequate lighting that meets all required lighting requirements would be required. What I would hate to see is such a large facility space being dark at 5 p.m. And if people are trying to use a basketball court or go to the playground where children are playing and they have to cross this soccer field that is completely unlit, I think it could cause more potential for harm and danger than not allowing them lighting, but to give them the capability of control lighting, which minimizes the amount of aspect and glare. So I think that I'm in favor of all conditions approved here, but I think I would like to make an opportunity to allow some lighting added to this field for safety and for the purpose of the use of the facility.
A couple other questions, if you.
Yes.
Mr.
Go
Chairman, I'd like to address Mr. McGiffney's question. There's a school caddy corner, which would be on the northwest corner, caddy corner. There's a school there with baseball fields and basketball courts and stuff like that. Highly, highly used. So there is a lot of activity in that neighborhood as far as recreational.
Yeah, I
type
know some
facilities.
schools you can't get into and they lock it down.
Yeah,
so
this is used every day, 7 days a week.
This area is the soccer field's supposed to be a sump. My question is this a drainage sump, or is this really gonna be adequately irrigated, or is it just gonna be kind of wild grass?
Of course, it's gonna be well engineered, everything there's gonna be a drainage system and everything. We do have our architect as
But
well.
I mean, if it's a sump, it gets flooded, right? So it's a flood sump?
It will not get flooded.
Okay. And then, like you said, there's gonna be adequate irrigation and all that. And
Yes, sir.
Is that in the plan
Yes, sir.
there with this too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was just my other questions I had there. Thank you.
Any more questions, comments from the commission?
I'll have some more commissioner comments.
I have staff focus comments as well.
Thank you, guys. For now, we'll call you back up if we need to.
Thank you.
Are there others that would like to speak on this project, either for or against? Please come forward and state your name. Lady, we'll go ladies first, if you don't mind. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record, ma'am.
My name is Tracy Halverson, Halvorson. And I'm a resident. I live down the street from this project. I'm really pleased to hear that they're not considering alcohol, because that's been one of my big concerns. But one of my concerns is if we change the zoning to this area and say, for example, because they're doing this in 3 phases, does that, just because they're choosing not to have something where they can have events with alcohol, does that mean that someone else buys the property later? Have you opened up my neighborhood now for me to have large events with 500 parking spots down the street from my home? Also, I can tell you as far as the lighting goes, there is impact from the lighting, because I live down the street on Meacham. I have lighting from Besa in my backyard. It lights up my backyard at night, even though I'm probably a quarter mile away. So there will be impact to the lighting, and I have noise levels from Besa. If you're not familiar with the area, there's Rosedale North School right there. There's a very large park that has huge softball events all the time. We have a large number of cars that go down the street from that already. And I have issues already pulling out of my driveway in the morning to go to work. If you ever drive down Meacham, you'll notice that most of the neighbors, the houses are all very close to the street there, about 30 or 40 feet off the street. And most of us have to back in because we can't get out already, because they've driven a lot more traffic down our street. And I don't know we haven't had the results of the traffic study, or they haven't done one yet. Also, another thing to consider is Rosedale North is mostly a pedestrian school. Most of the children there are not bused, they walk. So they're gonna have to walk past 500 cars potentially a day. And I don't know what kind of impact they're gonna put there to make that safer for those children. It's already an issue because a lot of people speed on the street. So I'm not sure what we can do to make that safe for all those children. So those are my biggest concerns anyways, so.
Thank you, Ms. Iverson. Sir, please come forward and state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Yes, my name is James Hartman, Hartman. I live at 11206 Paddock Avenue, which is basically butted up to the community center property. My property is separated by a fence from being in the middle of this proposal. When this proposal first came in, it was supposed to be for homeschooled kids, basically, and now apparently it's going to be for anybody who wants to rent this facility for charity groups or whatever, receptions or whatever the case may be. The noise level that I get from my house is a 2-story house, and when they're playing baseball at the Rosedale Elementary School, my whole backyard is illuminated, completely illuminated from the lights from there, and the noise basically is like they're playing in my backyard sitting next to me. I've been at that house since 2006. I bought it with the intentions of going in and having peace of quiet and peace of mind and being in a safe and secure area. Now basically it's going to be innovated by a community center with kids hollering, unruly people, cars going in and out, and everything else. Now I know that any of you board members would have this going in your backyard. I guarantee you, you would not allow it, because this community is not set up for this type center to go in such a tight area. It needs more buffer away from homes and more buffers away from streets. Most of your community centers and schools at least have a street for a buffer with walls around it. I don't have anything. My whole neighborhood on the back side, the south side, is just basically redwood fence. And I see the proposal of a 6-foot block wall going in, but I guarantee you a 6-foot block wall isn't going to be adequate to knock the noise and all the traffic and everything else down from this community center that's going to happen. There's going to be traffic spilling into our neighborhoods. There's going to be traffic jams all over. And who knows the clientele that's coming to these so-called functions. I can scale a 6-foot block wall. And these parking lots are going to be butted up to my property, where all they got to do is hop on a bumper of a car and jump right over that 6-foot fence into my property and vandalize or theft or whatever goes on. I'm not here only for me, I'm here for the whole neighborhood that has this thing going in, especially the ones that are on the property line. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Are there others who would like to speak? Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
My name is Michael Douster, last name spelled D-A-U-S-T-E-R. I've been a resident of this neighborhood for over 20 years. In that time, this property has been used as basically a junk storage facility. It's been an eyesore for as long as I've lived there. I know there's some projects that have been proposed in the past. I think a multifamily residential unit that would have not been a good place for this, and I was against it at that time. This project, I think, would be good for the area. The large amount of cars and parking would be probably for those events at night when traffic is of less concern. I drive by this site every day, every morning when I leave for work and when I come home. Traffic, mainly in this area, is driven by the school, and it's, you know, right in the morning and right at night, but then also the softball fields. That is, I mean, there's parking on the streets because that parking lot is inadequate. It seems like this project, the parking lot is at least adequate for the proposed use, that it would get the cars off the street and not parked up, down Joetta and everywhere. You know, the lighting from that field is old, and it does spill over into the neighboring properties. And I live on Cave, which is just one street north of Meacham. And, you know, you do hear the softball fields, you do see the light, and it does spill over into our neighborhood. This type of use doesn't seem like that's the same. This seems like it's more for children to come play soccer on a single field. I don't know that it's, you know, multiple fields. It looks like it's just one field. I don't know how, it doesn't seem like it's large enough to really be a huge soccer event. It's more of like a small, you know, school type function. The softball fields, they have tournaments there where there's people there from morning till night, all day long. This doesn't seem like that. It seems like if they were to have an event in the community center there and rent that hall out, it would be for a specified amount of time. Like so many other places around town where there's parks with the community center. And so those events are usually weddings and birthdays and things like that. It doesn't seem like, and especially not having alcohol, it doesn't seem like there's gonna attract the type of event that we would all object to. So while I do appreciate some of my neighbors in the area that would, you know, especially the ones backing up to it, they would have more of an issue with the lighting and the noise than I would being one street up. But it doesn't seem like this would be as a great of impact at what's already there catty-cornered. It seems like it would be less. So I'm pretty much in favor of the project up into the point where I do think they need to do certain things as far as the lighting, and it seems like they're addressing that. The size of the block wall, maybe that needs to be increased to help with the noise situation. But I would much rather see a project like this come in here instead of a multifamily residential unit. And I think that's what was proposed before. And I would much rather see this place developed, especially finishing the full right-of-way on Joetta and Meacham. That intersection's real tight to turn on, and they would be made to improve that area. It's a one spot in that entire neighborhood that's just unfinished, and we finally have an opportunity to put something there to finish that corner that's not multifamily residential, because that's the only thing that's been proposed there. So I would much rather see something like this go in that spot than something of that nature. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Doster. Others who would like to speak? For or against? Okay. Close the public hearing portion, and we'll go to the commissioners for additional comments.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address staff.
Please.
Mr. Murphy or Ms. Simon, regarding the 6-foot fence, can we recommend an 8-foot fence in place of a 6-foot fence, where they're wanting to put the 6-foot fence and also increase the height of the 4-foot ornamental hedge on Meacham to cut down on noise and glare from the parking lot as people pull their cars around and go through? I'm thinking more of a block wall there that would balance out with the rest of the fencing that we could approve, other than a 6-foot fence.
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair. We'll take this in two different parts based on your question. Could your commission change the conditions to require an 8-foot tall block wall? Yes, that is with your authority. The reason staff did not recommend 8 foot, our standard condition is that and this is not a commercial use, but if we have a commercial development and it's adjacent to residential, we only can require a 6-foot fence unless we go through an appropriate modification to that, because not all residents want 8 feet fence. 8-foot fence, to some people, some people may love it, some people may think that it's imposing and they didn't want an 8-foot fence. So when staff looked at this request, we simply went through and said, well, this is very similar. We think that a 6-foot would be sufficient to address the concerns. So that is where our recommendation came. However, it is within the purview of your commission, as it's not specifically a commercial use, it is a conditional use permit and they're proposing a community center, you would be able to authorize or require an 8-foot block wall fence instead of a 6-foot fence without having to go through any other discretionary actions. In relation to your question about basically on Meacham or Jewetta, the ornamental fencing. So our existing landscape standards, we have provisions in place to where if you are parking and you're facing a neighborhood or a home, we already have certain provisions where the landscape has to help block that. I would be concerned if you put more of a block wall, you do start to impact concerns about traffic, because now you have people that are coming in and out of it, and an ornamental fence that is 4 feet, you can kind of see cars coming in and out. I personally believe that our existing development standards when it comes to landscaping would address those concerns, because it specifically specifies that when you have a parking lot that is facing out to a street or facing out to homes, that you have to have the appropriate landscaping to help block the headlights of those cars. So I do not believe that the block wall, if the purpose of that along Meacham and Jewetta, I believe that our landscaping provisions would address that concern.
Okay. Another question. Has the sheriff department been contacted and seen the traffic plan for this? Or are we waiting for the traffic impact report for the neighborhood?
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, the sheriff department received a copy of this project. We have not heard any comments or concerns one way or the other from the sheriff department. And again, we do have Paul Candelaria here with the Public Works Department to answer any specific questions on traffic. I can tell you that in my conversations with Mr. Maxwell, the determination was that the use itself didn't necessarily need a traffic impact study. The issue with this location is that none of the streets are built out, and they do require complete Type A street improvements along Meacham and Jewetta. The question was when those particular improvements are needed to be done at what phase of the project. So the determination is that if the project were approved, before they could ever build any component of it, the field, they're going to start with one classroom, or, the gymnasium's not coming until potentially much later on in the facility. When they went to propose and build a phase, that is when the trip generation analysis would be done to figure out how many trips are really coming from that particular use and what are the required street improvements that are needed at that time to address that phase. So that was the purpose of of specifying when the traffic analysis would be done, more so to trigger what type of improvements would be needed for that particular phase of the project. And again, the project would be required, just because a question was brought up about children and walking in and around, to build full Type A street improvements. So that's curb, gutter, sidewalk, all along Meacham, all along Jewetta. They would have to dedicate the entire right-of-way, 55 width, and then once it was built to the county standards, then the county would take over control of the facility, or the roadways.
And Mr. Murphy, can we make a requirement that no alcohol be consumed on site?
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, I believe that we can incorporate that into, especially given the fact that the applicant has indicated that they would not have any alcohol. I guess the question that I would ask you was, that's, if someone has a beer in the fridge, that's one thing. You're also talking about having a permit. Like, I want to hold a facility, whether it be some sort of event during the day or something like that, or you actually go out and get a permit to have that for an event. So, but given the fact that the applicant has indicated that, I would consider that part of their project, and we can incorporate some language that would specify that if that was your commission's desire. The other thought too, and again, I know you all have other questions, and just because I believe you're going to ask, staff did review the lighting. We were unsure about our recommendation at that particular time. I do believe, based on the information that has been provided, that there is sufficient evidence and that we could incorporate sufficient conditions to ensure that none of the lighting spills to the adjacent properties. That doesn't mean you wouldn't see it from an adjacent property, which is where one of the questions is there. If it is your commission's desire to incorporate lighting, I'm just throwing things out there, you could specify that it can only be done during certain months of the year. You could specify that you could specify the heights, you could only do temporary lighting. If you have a desire, and after some of your discussion amongst your commissioners, staff would be able to potentially work a condition to help meet those needs, but those are some of the ideas that we discussed internally about the lighting for the field that potentially could address some of the concerns.
Mr. Murphy, do we have any information on the water table in that particular area, that this well would draw down the water table on that particular area? I mean, there's no irrigation going on there now, but there are parcels in that area that have water wells on them for domestic purposes. So I'd be interested to see what the water table height was, and if a water study has been looked at regarding the drawdown from this pump to irrigate all of this particular parcel, if it would affect the water table.
Commissioner Sprague, to the chair, I do not believe we have any of that specific information with us today or available, and I have not looked at any. I know that Vaughn Water Company, I believe, has provided a will serve letter saying that they can serve the facility.
It specifically says in here, irrigation supply will be by existing water well, which it's never been irrigated. This particular parcel has never been irrigated out of that well. So I'm concerned about drawing down the water table for the other domestic wells that are in the area. That's just one of my concerns that I have. Do we have any idea of when the traffic impact study will be made and concluded so that it can be looked at?
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, before any activity could commence on the site, first step they would have to do is indicate, I'm ready to move forward with phase one. They would have to do the analysis. They would have to provide that to Public Works Department, and based on that analysis, Public Works Department would determine what level of street improvements had to be made before the facility could ever open to any use.
And do you think that Public Works will require a separate sump for drainage purposes, or do you think they'll want to use part of the soccer field as a drainage basin?
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, I cannot answer that specifically. Our applicant may be able to tell you if they have talked. I believe they may have talked to our Public Works Department regarding drainage. I do know that we have our conditions that require that any drainage be approved prior to issuance of any permit and use of the facility as well. But I have not specifically had that conversation with Public Works regarding the drainage plan.
I have one more question. I live in the area. I live east of this, several blocks on Meacham. And or a lot of those houses in there have septic tanks. And I notice in here it says they will be hooking up to a sewer line. And I'm wondering if the other people in the neighborhood that have septic tanks can hook on to that trunk line, and if it's large enough to serve some of that community. So I don't know if you know that. You probably don't, but it's a question I think needs to be addressed.
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, I do not know that answer. I believe that the initial indication was that the project would connect to sewer. If for some reason this project is located in Metro Bakersfield, if the sewer line was not available, if they had some other constraints regarding connecting to sewer, before any development could commence, they would have to request an exception to go through the Board of Supervisors to use septic system. So I believe that some of those final determinations are still being made, which is why our condition specified that any had to get approval from environmental health, whether it be sewer or whether it be use of septic system.
Okay, and I have one more question, Mr. Murphy. If they were renting out this property for various uses and collecting rent money on it, why wouldn't a commercial zoning be required for this site?
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair. So we've looked at this to the best. When the proposal first came into us, we were determining what type of use this was. They want to have some classrooms to where some students can come after school and utilize the facility. They want to have a gymnasium. They want to have a meeting room opportunity for people to come in to, there could be a lot of different types of meetings that could utilize that. They wanted to have some open area where a field could be utilized for a number of different purposes. In looking at the project and considering what it was, it felt very similar to the community center that was located, that's right off Meany over in Western Rosedale as well. I mean, it is a neighborhood serving use. The facility itself, again, it just had all of those components to where we believe that it met the definition of what a community center was specifically. Just because of the different types of uses that were proposed, it didn't seem like it was a commercial event. If a agency had a similar facility, they would rent it out for a whole bunch of different purposes. You can go rent out a room in a community center. This just happens to be one that at this time is being privately funded as opposed to a publicly funded community center or park. But we believe that it had all the same characteristics as what a community center would have, which is why we classified the uses that when we saw the overall layout of the plan.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Commissioner Sprague, or Commissioner Johnson?
Any other commissioners have any questions prior? I know they haven't got a chance yet. Yes?
I have a question.
I just had Mr. Chairman, I just had a question about the traffic. It just seems like there's a lot of traffic going there from these other events, and these two roads here, they seem to be underdeveloped. I didn't know if that's impacting this project as well, given the complaints we're having about the traffic on these roads. If Public Works is going through that, looking at the existing use and saying, gosh, maybe we need to upgrade these roads now because of the events that are there. And is this fractionally proportional to what's going on there? Is it really going to add to the existing traffic, or we just have an existing problem that we're not addressing?
Commissioner Ray, give me through the chair. I don't necessarily if I understand the question. I can tell you that most roadways are developed when development occurs on a site. So clearly, this being a vacant piece of property, that is the reason why the street has never been dedicated to the county, the right-of-way width, and it's never been developed like the properties adjacent to it. Typically, that is the time in which that occurs when some sort of development happens. So I can tell you that part of it. Did I answer your question?
Well, I just heard enough complaints about the roadway here being overwhelmed by the existing activities at that school. So I guess my question is, why isn't this is this being addressed, and how much more would this bring to the table versus what's already going there, which seems to be inadequate by the public here that are already telling me that. So I just was curious if that's been looked at.
Commissioner, give me through the chair. Again, we do have Mr. Paul Candelaria here from the Public Works Department that can help answer that. I do not believe that the trips generated with this project are peak hour trips. I do not believe that you're going to have a whole lot of people coming to the facility during morning rush hour when everybody's trying to go to work. These types of trips would be generated mid to late afternoon. There could be some evening trips, but I do believe that that's part of the reason why the existing roadways, and the thought was, hey, once they get built out, they will then be able to help handle all of this, is that it's not a destination where everyone's going to be trying to get in it right at the same time as the whole metro Bakersfield area is moving as well.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
I have two questions. Were parking spaces determined by the applicant, or were they determined by staff?
I'll let Ms. Simon answer that question.
Ms. Skidmore, through the chair. That is determined through the zoning ordinance, and we look at the different uses on site and determine those based on those combinations. That states the required amount of parking, which the applicant has complied. So there should be no overspill onto streets. It should be completely able to handle any kind of use that is on the project site at any one time.
When identifying the parking spaces, is the neighborhood that butts up to, especially the south side, considered? So if there's only a 6-foot block wall, my concern is somebody could get out of their car and look over into somebody's backyard. So is that a concern in other projects? Is that something that is considered in the process?
Typically, our standards, our development standards include a 6-foot masonry wall for any project that is a commercial in nature, that is adjacent to a residential development. And again, like Mr. Murphy said, our standard is 6 feet so that the 8 feet or higher isn't imposing. However, the applicant can come back at a later date and propose a higher wall so that the rest of the neighborhood would be aware that that is something that they are proposing. Generally, a 6-foot masonry wall is imposing enough that someone can't really see over the wall. I guess they could climb over it if they wish to, but they'd really need to want to do that.
Commissioner Skidmore through the chair too, to also help answer this question is, I do believe that, and this is within your commission's purview as well, if you do not believe, if you are inclined to approve the project, but you do not believe the layout is appropriate, it's within your commission to recommend changes or approve it with changes. I believe that the applicant tried to their best ability, buffer as much as they can, keep the site more internal. You can see that the gymnasiums, the meeting hall, the classrooms, even the soccer field are trying to be proposed a little bit more in the middle of the facility. I believe that the parking adjacent, they did that on purpose just to help create some additional space between where the main uses would be going. Usually a parking lot from a noise or an activity standpoint, you park, you leave, you don't spend any time when you're sitting in the parking lot. All the activities happen either in the gym or in the field. But it is within your commission's purview. If you believe a different layout is appropriate, if you think that the open area should buffer certain areas, those are all things that your commission can consider. But I do believe that the applicant tried to buffer the uses, what they thought was appropriate to the surrounding properties that they thought would be what those property owners would actually prefer as opposed to a different configuration. I do know that that's part of the reason is where the gym and the classrooms, once those are fully constructed, you wouldn't even be able to see the soccer field from Meacham. You would probably be able to see it from Jewetta. But again, those are other things that your commission can consider.
Okay, my second question is, do we know, and we probably don't, but I mean, if the soccer field is grass and not AstroTurf, is there any type of irrigation plan or some type of water plan that is required? A soccer field usually is in this town requires a lot of water, and so my concerns echo Commissioner Sprague's in terms of water usage, considering our Central Valley-wide water issues.
Commissioner Skidmore through the chair. We do have, I don't have it in front of me. I know that, for example, golf courses cannot use new water sources. They have to use recycled water to the extent feasible. I would have to look specifically, unless Ms. Simon has more specific details. I don't know if we have that provision specifically with this facility. We relied on Vaughn Water giving us a will serve letter. They knew what the proposed project was, and they indicated that they would be able to provide sufficient water to service the site. So that is where we went from consideration at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Commissioner Josh.
Yes, a lot of good questions raised tonight, I think, on this project. And I think for some of the fellow residents in the area, sometimes some of these things you're not familiar hearing with or not familiar with as we do on a regular basis sometimes. So if any way it could simplify some of the issues, one, raise up with traffic. As Mr. Murphy from staff made a great comment on, but when you do a development, in any type of development in Kern County or in most cities anyhow, traffic is looked at and at the time of design phase. So what we're doing today, we're not improving any building plans for construction. Obviously, if this project does get past our commission, they will have to do building plan designs to submit and be reviewed by the whole county and all departments. And Public Works at that time will determine if this traffic impact is great at the time. They will help improve the roads to help cross that traffic. So, I wanted to make sure everyone kind of understood that. That might have been overlooked in that conversation. Also, I wanted to come back and comment on the fact that doing development, myself many times in this community as well, looking at this overall plan, I think the applicant did a good job laying this out. Again, keeping the facilities away from the property line is actually, I think, is a benefit for the community because having a building adjacent to a property line or having that type of structure blocking a view of a resident compared to allowing the space to be pulled away from the property lines to allowing more of a centralized location gives it much better traffic flow and flow to the center as well. I think that if we look at this, I think that the staff comments on this project were very well laid out. I would like to add, if possible, that I would like for our commission to consider adding lights onto the soccer field based upon the presentation gave today by the professionals here that technology has came a long way, and some of the residents did comment actually quite openly about the issue they are having with the baseball field across the street, and that is the issue with a lot of these older lightings. These older lightings allow a lot of illumination to cross over property lines, to cross over parking lots, and allowing the facility with this new technology that really goes based upon a photometric design that limits the amount of light coming off. I think that's what we like to see. I think that's a good development. That's a good thought process. And to have a facility designed, I think it would be disheartening for this project to put a soccer field on that doesn't have any type of illumination to it. I think if we could control that, and I'd like to maybe ask that to staff, if we could put some sort of comment in to require the facility to have a photometric design that's submitted and has to be approved to limit the zero line, not to affect any of the properties around the facility, but to allow illumination for that soccer field, because I think it does create a safety hazard if we do not have that. Again, late evenings, having a large dark space for kids to play in, walk through, we are not going to be able to keep individuals off this area in the evening time, and I think it'd be very unopportunistic to cause more issues with having a dark area like that. And I think if we light it correctly, we have great things in our building code requirements and our lighting requirements, Title 24 requirements, that they could design this based upon it and really limit any issues with the neighbors. So I'd like to see if we could add some comments to allow that into this item here.
Thank you, Commissioner Josh.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question.
Sure.
Mr. Murphy, do we know what kind of parking lot base they're putting? Is it like DG or asphalt or what?
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, I believe it's standard parking asphalt like you would in any other facility.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
If no other comments, I'd like to make a motion, but I'd like to add the addition of allowing a lighting onto the soccer field, but if staff could make some notation to accommodate the fact that it will be based upon in a design, photometric design that does not allow any type of bleeding over into adjacent properties. Can this might that be done, Mr. Murphy?
Commissioner Judge, through the chair, yes, I can create something for that. I have some potential ideas. I guess one of the questions I would need to ask is it your desire to have a motion that would allow the year-round? Would be the first question. And if that would be the case, my second question would be right now, the condition says sunrise to sunset. I would need to know what time do you want to have the use of the sports field stopped. The community center, I believe itself, can go use until 10 p.m. I do not know if you believe that the 10 p.m. should also be for the field as well. So I need that information from from your commission as well. But I do believe I can craft something if you'd like with some additional information, the direction you're wanting to go.
Mr. Murphy, so the basketball court is conditioned to 10 p.m. currently? Is that my understanding?
We're double checking that. I believe that is the case. That also had provision specifically where when it was not in use, the lights were off. That's another question that I would need, and that might be a question you need to ask our lighting expert. If they didn't have an event there, or if there wasn't anybody that were using the field that particular day, do the lights have to be on? I don't know what it takes to turn the lights on and off, so I believe that would be an appropriate question to ask, so that your commission could give me some direction, because that would be another option, is if the grass was not being used that night, then we don't need to have the lights on, or maybe we want them on all the time. But that would be some other direction I would need from your commission.
So if applicant's engineer could step up, I'd like to ask that question to you. So as directed by Mr. Murphy, obviously I know that we got photosoll technology, we also got timing capabilities. How can the sport lighting be controlled as far as the occupant to be able to, in a very easily manner, turn them on or off?
So the proposed LED system is an instant on, instant off system. Our controls for that system is pretty much endless as far as scheduling lights to the second, essentially, calling in to turn off the lights whenever they're not being used. So the applicant can essentially turn them on, have them scheduled. We want them on at 8:15. We want them off at 8:20. We want them on at 8. You can do pretty much whatever you want with the controls aspect of it. So if there was a time set forth by the commission, lights off every night, 365 at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, then they would go off at that time.
And I'm also saying that the new time technology as well, that they're required even by Title 24 nowadays, the new timers are required to be modified due to the modification of the daylight and harvesting hours, as far as daylight to sunset, as far as when they come on and come off, right? They're automatically controlled that way?
Yes, there's, I guess, a couple different options that you can have, but we can also set our schedule according to the astronomical clock, on, off at those times. But I think another aspect of it too is there could also be a provision in there during cleanup hours, from 9 to 10, where they dim the lights down. You can have multiple presets with the system, so you can have, during competition, 30-foot candles is what we're lighting the field to, which is the recreation standard set forth by the Illuminaires Society, and that's kind of the standard that everyone's adopted. And so, in cleanup time, or if there's a practice going on, you could dim those lights to 50% or 25% or 10%. So there could be lower light levels at any point during the usage.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before we get to a motion on this, I'd like to say, I think it's a good project, I just think it's in the wrong place. So with that, I can't support this project tonight without having further information, traffic impact study, et cetera, and questions that I've asked. So at this particular time, I'm not going to be supporting this project.
Thank you, Mr. Sprague. Commissioner Sprague.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question of clarification from Mr. Murphy. We had talked about the water, I guess, and it sounds like the potable water is going to be supplied by Vaughn, but the irrigation by a well. And I want to make sure we understand where the water was coming from. I think I'm a little bit confused on the question here.
Commissioner, give me to the chair, and we may have our applicant be able to provide some additional information. I believe that the water for both the potable water, and then for the soccer fields or any other of the grass was authorized from Vaughn Water. So if Vaughn Water said, use this well that is located on the site, that's where the water would come from. If Vaughn said, no, we're not using that well, I'm providing it to you this way, then it was being used from that perspective. But I believe that they've had the conversations with the district specifically, so if you could provide some additional.
That's not what this says, that's all, Mr. Murphy. It doesn't say that in this document. Another question I had about this caretaker and taking care of the property. Is that caretaker gonna, and this is an existing house on the property, I didn't see that, but I'm assuming there is. Is the groundskeeper gonna be there right away, or is this gonna be in the third phase? It's not clear on this document when that caretaker takes over, basically managing this property.
So we're hoping to get a caretaker right away, right when we start phase 1, to be on site.
So could you show me again where that house is? I didn't really see it.
I believe it's in-
Commissioner McGivney, through the chair. I wanted to point out that in the phasing, you can see the residents there.
It says something about existing residents, that's why I was.
That is an existing
Okay, okay,
residence.
thank
They
you.
do need to renovate it and bring it up to code.
Thank you.
That is part of phase 1.
Okay.
So there should, the proposal is that the caretaker will be finalized on phase 1, so there will be a caretaker on site from, this is phase 1 that you're seeing here. They will be on site from the beginning of the operations of the project.
Okay, thank you. It wasn't clear to me in this document. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner
Okay.
McGivney.
Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to continue on my comment
Sure.
on the lighting. So, Mr. Murphy, going back to your comment there, the suggestion I would like to make is that to allow the lighting, because obviously the lighting we're requesting is to be based upon a photometric design that requires zero luminance onto any property line. So I would make a comment to allow it to be used year-round, but to be turned off when the facility is not in use, and to also to not allow it to go past the time that you have allocated to the similar basketball courts or playground area, which I think might be 9 or 10 p.m. 10 p.m. I'd like to minimize it to that.
Commissioner Judge, through the chair, it is 10 p.m. that the basketball courts will be turned off as per our condition.
Yes, I would say as basketball courts, but again, not if the facility is not in use, the lights should be left off so they're not being used for and illuminating an area that's not being occupied.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I believe I have 2 revised conditions if your commission is ready for me to read suggested changes.
I got one more question real quick. Is the parking lot open all the time? Are there gates where you close that off so people can't?
It'll be an enclosed facility.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you, guys. Mr. Murphy, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the comments I've heard from the commission, staff would identify a necessary change to condition number 2. This talks about what use is authorized. Staff would propose at the end of, just so that it's very clear, the very end of condition 2. Actually, I would just, let's see here. What I would do is, the condition starts to read, this approval authorizes a conditional use permit to allow a community center to be built in 3 phases with associated improvements on a 9.33 acre parcel in an E10 RS district. I would add the words right there, no commercial alcohol use shall be authorized on site, and then I would just continue the condition as it reads. So that would be the first change I would recommend based on the comments I've heard. The second change, we have condition 8J. That is the condition that, as currently proposed, limited the use of the facility, the grass area from sunrise to sunset. I would change that condition. It's easier if I just revise what the whole condition would read. The condition would now read, use of the sports field shall be limited from sunrise to 10 p.m., period. Permanent lighting shall be authorized. Applicant shall submit a lighting plan and specs for the soccer field. Lighting shall only be used when the field is in use. The lighting plan shall ensure no spill-off to adjacent properties and adhere to all dark sky principles. And based on the comments that I have, those would be the 2 recommendations I would make.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Murphy, would that also include the basketball courts?
The basketball courts have a different condition that specify that they are allowed to be utilized until 10 p.m. and that condition already reads that the lights have to be on a timer and they can only be on when someone is using the facility.
With no spillover, because it's back in a corner adjacent to many of the residential's houses that come around that L shape there.
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, yes, that would incorporate, because when I said no spillover, I would include it for the entire facility, not specifically just the sports. So yes, that would include making sure that the sports field and the basketball courts and anything else doesn't spill off to the residential properties adjacent to the site.
Mr. Murphy, there's one, not you can't see things, it's not me to tell you what to do, but there's another sentence there in condition 2 that talks about permanent outdoor lighting shall not be permitted. Have you take that one?
Thank you, Commissioner, or Chairman Ashley. That would need to be deleted.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the catch.
In addition, I'm sorry,
No, it's okay.
we would also need to, if you wanted to do the alcohol limitation, we would need to delete condition 8H, which states sale and consumption of alcohol beverages shall be in accordance with state and county regulations. So it would not apply if you were to restrict alcohol consumption on site.
First, I have a just general question. I'm not against putting that in the condition or the modification, but even if they wanted to have alcohol, would they not have to apply for a use permit through the alcohol beverage control, and they would have to approve that use?
There would be a process that they have to go through, yes, in terms of, but for a temporary event, people apply for that on a number of bases, and so, that doesn't necessarily go through the county.
Okay, so the limitation you're talking about is if someone did have a soccer event and a father wanted to bring some alcohol onto the property, that they could apply for temporary use through the ABC, correct?
With the condition as proposed, they would not be able to, because we specified as this condition that there is no commercial alcohol sales authorized on the grounds.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Murphy, isn't there a limit in footage from a school that they can't have alcohol consumption? I believe it's so many feet away from a property like this, from a public concession area.
Commissioner Sprague, through the chair, there might be one for when a permit could be authorized, a temporary event. I do not believe there's one where someone, just the consumption. It could be for the sale, or it could be for issuance of a permit, but not consumption.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd like to ask the commission, and again, I'm in favor of Commissioner Sprague's comment of limiting alcohol uses on the site, but I would like for us to thought process is, if this is a public facility, and if someone did apply for temporary permits, say they wanted to use the field or they had an event there, I would think we would probably give the benefit to allow a individual use for a set amount of time that is permitted through alcohol beverage control to be allowed. Because last thing you'd want is to have a father on the side drinking an alcoholic beverage and get ticketed or get issued for having a facility he's not allowed to on the site. So I understand it's not a public park, again, and if it's not something that it's an issue, I'm just looking at use. This is a community facility, and if someone, just like at a park, if you go to a park and you want to have alcohol, you have to, if you have an event, you could apply for, if you're having an event there, you have to apply to the ABC to have that. But again, that's just something I'm thinking about, just looking at overall. I'm not sure how the applicant feels.
Regardless, we plan on having a zero tolerance for any alcohol
No point.
on site.
Okay, thank you.
However,
Thank you,
Commissioner Josh, through the chair, I would like to remind your commission that the CUP runs with the land, not with the landowners. So in the event that they should, if your commission so chooses to limit alcohol on site based on the proponent's proposal, then if they do choose to sell, the next person that owns that property would be able to have alcohol on site if you do not limit it through a condition. That's just something to consider.
Any other comments, commissioners, on limitation on that?
I think it's going to sit better with people to limit that now, and if the future owner would like to come in and modify that later, then we could take it up again at that time.
Yeah, agreed.
I kind of agree with the chairman.
Yeah, so do I. Then, if no other comments, I'd like to make a motion.
We'll entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to, for this project, to approve this project based upon all the conditions listed here in staff report with the addition of the two comments that Mr. Murphy has clarified.
It is, and for the record, it's conditions 2, conditions 8H, and conditions 8J.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. looking for a second.
Yeah, we have a motion. Waiting for a second.
Would you like a second?
Is it appropriate if I second?
If you would like to, I don't think there's any reason why the chair cannot second.
Okay, we got a motion and a
Second
second.
motion.
Motion and second, please cast your votes.
Two ayes, 3 noes. Motion is denied.
Okay, I think that this is a final decision, but there is a right to appeal. Mr. Murphy, is that correct?
There is, hold on one second, Mr. Chairman, real quick.
Sure.
Thank you, Chairman Ashley. I just needed to make sure we had some logistical things correct.
Sure.
So for the record, the project was denied. So that is the action of this commission, is to deny the proposed request. For projects where the planning commission action is final, that action is subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by the applicant can take place as a final date of appeal. That's not necessarily an issue in this one. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department, located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms available at the department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing. If no appeal is received, the action of the commission is final. And again, given our winter recess, the final date to appeal this project would be by 5 p.m. on January 2nd, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. That brings us to the end of our agenda, and I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
We have a motion
Second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.